What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. And we are back. I'm Huzaifa, and this is Justin. And we're here to talk about a lot of stuff. There's so many things happening in the UFC right now, especially since the conclusion of UFC 286, which was unbelievable, incredible, in my opinion. And we're going to start right away by talking about that amazing main event with Usman versus Edwards. So, Justin, I know we were just talking about you watching the fights. I watched them on Saturday, and I was blown away. Yeah, right off the bat, kind of what are your thoughts in terms of the fight and in terms of how Usman looked and how Leon looked?
I really enjoyed the fight, but I'm going to be 100% honest and transparent. I think the judges got it wrong. Uh,
Oh,
I'm a big Usman fan. When I saw that he lost, I figured Leon Edwards must have had just an incredible game plan. But I mean, he looked good. I think the difference in that fight was the body kicks and his lateral movement. He was very shifty lateral from side to side. With that being said, I really feel Usman put a heavy pace on him. He stood in front of him for 5 minutes. He put him against the fence a bunch. He kind of controlled the pressure of the fight. Now, I'm not upset with the decision by any means. I can see why judges thought Edwards won, but in my opinion, that third round was a big deciding round. I thought Usman won the third round. It was a 10-8 round. I was fine with it. Actually, honestly, it was kind of a funny fight because whatever the outcome was after watching it, had I not known the outcome ahead of time, I was fine with the draw. I was fine with Edwards winning, and I just thought Usman won that fight.
that's really interesting. All right. So we haven't talked about this, obviously, in terms of your opinion, because that was kind of a surprise to me just now. And I actually, now it's obviously, I don't know, I don't watch fights trying to score them. Of course, I probably couldn't even do it effectively if I wanted to. But, and I think here's the other thing that makes it tricky is I, I was really excited for Edwards, and I've been a big fan of his whole story and just watching everything and just watching his confidence grow and whatnot. So perhaps I'm biased, but I will say this: I've watched a ton of interviews since. There's a couple folks that have felt like Usman did win that fight, but that's interesting because I think most people feel like Leon won. Now, I was looking at the judges' scorecards as well. I think there was the one judge. So I'll tell you my thoughts.
Okay.
And I'm trying to qualify them in from that's how I was watching the fights. But there was one judge that gave. Now I think you might disagree with this, but he basically gave 1, 2, 4, and 5 to Leon, and then the round where he had the point taken away, he called that he actually had that as a tie, as 9-9. Now I thought that was a bit excessive. I could see Usman winning that third round given the point deduction, but I felt like Leon was kind of in control and somewhat dominating most of those rounds. Now, I got to ask, are you giving Usman, do you feel like maybe Usman has a slight edge because of the takedowns or what? You said he was coming forward and controlling. But did the takedowns play a big part in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, for my breakdown of the fight is I thought Edwards won the first round. I thought he looked great. He went right to that body. He's going to that low inside leg kick. You could tell right away that he was setting up that left high kick again. He even talked about it after the
Yep.
fight. So again, in his angles, but Usman coming forward. Second round, I thought it was a close round, but I gave it a 55% chance that I thought Usman won the second round. We got the point taken away. He had him on the fence. He's about to finish his takedown, grabs the fence, gets the point taken away. What I didn't like about the third round is they stood him back up. Herb Dean stood him up,
Mm,
and his
yeah.
justification was, oh, well, I took a point away. I
Mm.
think that he takes a point away. That's great. Excuse me. But then he gives him the position he should have earned or that he would have earned had he not have grabbed the fence. Regardless, I still thought Usman won the third round. So that's a 10-8 round for me. To me, going into the fourth round, I felt Usman was slightly ahead, and again, not enough to where I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe it. But I was like, he's kind of edging him out, and maybe because I knew the outcome prior, I was kind of maybe I was leaning towards Usman to begin with, and I really expected something dramatic from Edwards. And the fourth and the fifth round, to me, are coin flip rounds. Man, they were really tough rounds to judge. Like I said, I would have been totally fine with with a draw in this fight, just to bring them both back. But yeah, man, it's again, Edwards won the fight, and I'm fine with the judges scoring it that way. I just felt it was really close, and I just thought that Usman, he got the takedown, he had the cage control, and Michael Bisping was talking about, oh well, he's trying to take him down, but Edwards is defending the takedown. But again, what are you going to score more? Are you going to score a guy controlling and pressing a guy up against the cage, or are you going to just score the defense higher? And that's person to person. You know what I mean? Like maybe the judges saw that and they're like, all right, well he's defending his takedowns, but there's still output there. That's like if he's defending his strikes, but he's still throwing strikes. And guys don't get scored for defending against strikes. Why should they get scored for defending takedowns?
That's interesting. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And what do you what's your take about the leg kicks? I felt like those were I don't know how many he threw, maybe 15, 16, something like that, and they seemed to be all go unanswered. And I thought it looked like a very smart play to me. Do you felt like what did you think of the leg kicks from Leon Edwards?
Being a leg kick connoisseur, I love attacking the base, especially of such a great wrestler like Usman. I thought it was an incredible plan going inside, going on the outside, going a little bit higher to the body. I mean, some people might even say those growing strikes were intentional. I've heard theories of that to slow Usman down a little bit. Which you get kicked in the balls in a fight, man, it's going to slow the pace down in the fight too. But regardless if it's intentional or not, I think it was an incredible game plan. Definitely slows the wrestling down. And you saw throughout the fight, Usman was switching his stance. He was going back and forth from orthodox to southpaw. And I couldn't help but wonder if it was because of the leg kicks or if it was his game plan just to throw him off balance.
Yeah, it did seem to me. I was curious about this. I didn't hear a lot of people say this, but I did want to that I was curious to know. And it seemed like Usman's knee might have been a little bit compromised by the end because of the leg kicks or his legs, because he was switching. He was exhausted, but he was like shooting a ton in that fifth round and just seemed so out of it. So I thought maybe those leg kicks had really added up. But that's interesting. Now, it seems like there's no rematch that's ever going to happen. But to me, just looking at the entire fight and the outcome, I felt like Leon seemed to be the more comfortable fighter, the more, I suppose, conditioned fighter, at least in this outcome. I feel like if they ever did fight again, I feel like Leon's kind of gone past him perhaps, and maybe might be a tough matchup for him. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Usman's going to have to go back to the drawing board here. I know he has some injuries he's dealing with. We've talked about him on our other shows about his knees and so on and so forth. So it really just depends on how he feels when he comes back. I thought his pressure was incredible. One thing I really admire about Usman is he does what his coaches tell him to. I don't know if it was going in the fourth round or the fifth round, but his coach was saying, run after him, get in his face, run after him. And he
Yep.
literally would sprint across the cage to get right back in his face. And that's a coach's dream right there. I can't help you. I did a commentating show in for Fusion Fight League over the weekend, and I cornered one guy out there, and I'm telling him to do things throughout the fight, and he just would not listen. So it really just goes, why he is arguably one of the greatest of all time is he's coachable. He's listening to his coach. He believes in what his coach is saying, and he executes, man. And to get back to if they're going to fight again, if Usman comes back, he's going to have to knock some guys off. He's going to have to, have a big dramatic knockout, maybe fight tough because he's fought everybody. So
Exactly.
he fights it's just going to be a rematch. Who's he going to fight again? Masvidal? Is he going to fight Colby, for the 100th time? Like, these aren't matchups that I really care to see, or maybe I'm sure some people do, especially the hardcore Usman fans. But man, I think he's going to have to rack off 2 or 3 wins, convincing wins, to put him back in title contention.
So this leads us to the next topic. We're talking about title contention because there's something that happened over the weekend that basically took the whole MMA world and everything by storm. It was one of some of the videos that got the most views. This is crazy from the weigh-ins. It beat out so many other interviews, and it was the return of Colby Covington. And I really want to chat with you about that. So that was crazy. I had heard. So you know me. I watch everything, and I had heard people bring up the question earlier in the week at the press conference. Hey, we heard that Colby is the backup fighter. Usman and Leon were both like, we have no idea, and we didn't hear that. We had no clue, or we don't know. And then all of a sudden, he just shows up at the weigh-ins. That clip, I think, got like over 1 million views, something crazy. He just shows up in shape, ready to go. And then Dana White announced after the fight, which he normally never does. People, if you guys have been watching, people have been saying that, talking about this all week, that Kobe is definitely next for the title shot, which is crazy because he has been out. His last fight was March of 2022, so it's been over a year. But no, it's not that crazy. He is ranked number 2, I think, right now in the welterweight division, so it's not that crazy. But yeah, that was a shock, and I know Gilbert is right there, even theoretically. Masvidal, if he beats Gilbert, could go either way, and then of course you got Bilal Muhammad. So I want to talk about this because this was wild, and a lot of people are upset. A lot of people are excited. It kind of goes both ways. What are your thoughts? Because it seems like, and Leon's not happy. He doesn't want to fight Kobe. He thinks he hasn't earned it, but it seems like it's a done deal. Like, what are your thoughts?
To Colby's, that was really surprising. Actually, when I saw him weigh in, I thought that it was a clip from time ago. I didn't know, just like you, that he was weighing in. So I assumed that was a previously recorded clip. But with that being said, Colby's tough, man. And here's the thing: like guys like Bilal, another great fighter, could be a champion in a couple years, but he doesn't have a following. I can't think of any. There's no notable fight. I'm not saying he hasn't fought notable guys, and I'm not saying he probably hasn't had incredible fights. But me, as a fan, as a fighter, there's no fight that sticks out to me like, oh my God, when Bilal fought this guy, like he just looked incredible. Like I still think he needs to fight a Gilbert Burns. He needs to fight Khamzat. Bilal would be a great guy for Usman to fight. You know what I mean? Like I think that an incredible matchup between Usman and Bilal. They'll give Bilal the credibility of fighting a champion caliber fighter, and to see if he has what it takes. Because at the end of the day, I don't even know who he's fought. And again, I'm not saying he hasn't fought tough guys or good fighters, but as a fan, I don't really care to watch him fight because I can't think of anything. Like, I mean, is he knocking everybody out? Is he grinding out decisions? Is he submitting guys left and right? There's nothing notable about him to throw him into the championship mix. But to go next for Karma Usman, this great shot for Bilal to get his name recognized more and develop that fan base. Now with Colby coming in, I mean, Colby's Colby, man. He keeps finding ways to win. I mean, he's fought Usman 2 or 3 times. He's lost each time. And honestly, I think Colby's a better matchup against Edwards than he was against Usman just because of the wrestling. With Colby's pressure and his relentless gas tank, I mean, Edwards might not want to fight Colby just because, I mean, he knows it's a bad matchup. Colby's striking isn't great. I give Edwards the striking department, but Colby can fucking wrestle, and that guy never gasses out. So, like you're saying, like this is going to be crazy at welterweight. We got Dustin Burns coming up. We have Khamzat coming, or I don't know if Khamzat's going to be a middleweight or a welterweight. But if Khamzat stays at welterweight, I mean, look, there's another guy. Usman could have to go against. There's a couple names in the mix, and I feel Bilal's right on the edge of being in that championship contention. But I feel he needs another fight. I feel Colby's deserving. Masvidal and Burns, like, I hate the matchup. I mean, I'm putting my house on Burns. I think it's a terrible stylistic matchup for Masvidal. I don't think Masvidal will have the wrestling for him. So I don't even want to talk about Masvidal being in title contention because, I mean, he can't beat it. I don't think he can't beat Colby. He can't beat Usman. I don't think unless he gets lucky, he can't beat Edwards. He can't beat Bilal. Like, I think this fight right now is just to kind of get Burns back on a winning track, so we can have a fight like that.
It's funny with all the stuff you mentioned. I think welterweight for that title shot, you can look at like the top 5, top 7, whatever. It might be the most interesting division right at this moment, especially with the return of Colby. It's so crazy. And you did mention Khamzat. I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Khamzat is moving up to middleweight. That's what everybody seems to be saying. I think even Dana White confirmed it, quote unquote, but because I suppose you never really know, but I think he's gone. So I think he's out. That's interesting though, what you said about Bilal versus Usman. I haven't heard anybody say that would actually be great if Bilal would be okay with it. I just heard him do an interview today, but he didn't talk about fights or he didn't talk about the belt. He talked about what it was like to train during Ramadan because he does the fasting and trains through it, which is crazy. But anyways, I think that would be awesome because it looks like he's not going to get the title shot. So him versus Usman, that would be great if Usman can come back. That would make a lot of sense for me from a fan perspective. I'd be interested. in that fight. But I'll tell you this. Okay, let's think about Kobe going up, and the odds have Kobe favored. At last I checked against Leon, it's close, but they have him favored. They say it's a tougher matchup because of everything you said, because of the pressure, because of the pace. He's not going to burn out and have cardio issues. Like, I mean, Usman's never had cardio issues. That was the first time I think I've ever seen him slow down. That was really crazy in that last fight. But I don't think that's going to happen to Kobe. And then the wrestling, okay, so what did the Weasel mention? He said the only times when Usman was having success was when he wouldn't relent, when he wouldn't lay off Leon, when he kept pressuring him and pushing him into the fence. And then he was saying that that's what Kobe does much more naturally. Like he does not like release. He does not let go, which is why I was saying he might have a better shot and might be slightly favored. So I think that's interesting. So, okay, so now imagine this. Obviously, you think Gilbert's going to roll through Masvidal, so we're not going to talk about the chance of Masvidal beating Gilbert. But
we can talk about it. We can talk about it. I just don't think it's in the realm of possibility.
Okay, so I'm gonna just play out from what would be the craziest outcome and probably get the biggest pay-per-view numbers possibly of all time. This would be the craziest thing ever. And Jesse on Fire and the MMA Guru were talking about this. So Jesse on Fire is saying the one thing that the UFC has been wanting to do in the welterweight division and been trying to make happen for a long time is Colby versus Masvidal for the title. That they've been wanting to do that because it's a grudge match plus a title shot would be crazy. It didn't work out, because Colby lost and, all of that. So they ended up having the fight anyways. And it was a really, I don't know what your thoughts were, but I thought it was really, really interesting. And I tuned in and I thought it was a good, Colby dominated, but I thought it was a really good fight. And I was curious to see it. Now, imagine this. Colby goes up, fights Leon. They fight during International Fight Week, co-main event to John Jones. That's going to be huge. It's going to be insane. That might actually right there break 2 million pay-per-view buys. I don't know. It's going to be nuts. And then Colby wins. Let's just say theoretically, I know it's low probability, Masvidal wins. Then they set that fight up for October or November. Colby versus Masvidal. That's going to be massive. Then, okay, these are multiple things that have to happen. Then while this is happening around the same time, Conor beats Michael Chandler. And then after that, you have in February, you have Conor versus Colby. Just imagine.
That's Dana White's dream.
That's Dana White's dream. That's the UFC's dream.
And I don't blame him because the gift of gab. These guys are. It's going to get and honestly, for the company, it would be an incredible fight because we're like. I don't think there's a chance, Conor. But he has a puncher's chance, and that's the thing with Masvidal. He does have the.
Nope.
My son just beat it. He does have the puncher's chance against Burns, of course. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Burns, you watch him that Khamzat fight, like this guy has some serious heart. And I'm not saying Masvidal doesn't have heart, but Burns has the skill and the technique to go along with the heart. And I think Masvidal is just too one-dimensional to be a champion in MMA this day of age. And again, I'm a Masvidal fan. I love the shit talking. I love the way he fights. I love the way he struts. But I just see him. I see him as a journeyman, as a stepping stone for that new wave of fighters coming in. But Colby versus Masvidal. I know a lot of people are interested. Personally, I'm not. I thought the first fight, or when they fought last, is exactly how it'll go again. And Masvidal is going to, try to shit talk his way to get him to try to stand with him. But why would he stand with him? There, like, why give him a chance when he can dominate him as he did before? If I'm not mistaken, I think he beat him 5-0.
Pretty sure. Four or five. I'll double check.
4 or 5, and it's like that fight just really doesn't interest me. But like you said, in a perfect world, Colby versus Conor McGregor. Now that would be epic. I think it's stupid. I think it's WWE. But guess what? I'm buying that pay-per-view.
Yeah. So anyways, I
or
don't
I'm
know.
coming to LA to your house. I'm coming to LA to your house.
Exactly. Oh, we have to do that. Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny because a lot of and this is the other thing I want to get from your perspective too as a fighter. And a lot of people are really upset with Colby jumping the line as he sat out. Now look, like he is coming off a win. He is ranked, I think, second in the division. So I get that he hasn't been as active as other fighters, but I don't see it as such like a travesty in terms of equity. Yeah, people were saying, perhaps in terms of, but like you said, like Bilal perhaps doesn't have that huge fan base just yet. Maybe a fight against Usman would make sense. Hey, and maybe, look, I'm not trying to say anything. Like maybe you take it from a logic perspective. Bilal is more deserving. Probably is. Okay, let's just say from just straight meritocracy. But I don't think it doesn't seem so unfair to me that Colby will get the next shot. And God, it would be fun. Like it makes it interesting. I I like watching Colby. I gotta say that, he gets mad if you call what he does a character. It's not a character. He always says that, but come on, like it's a character. But he's kind of funny and he's entertaining.
He's entertaining.
I like
And
it.
and that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, this is a showman sport. Like I'm sure you've seen that video of this guy on the regional circuit. He's dancing in the middle of his fights, and he has his hands down, like turns his back to his opponent and stuff. And in the third round, he gets head kicked and knocked out, and everyone is hating on him. Like, oh my God, what an idiot! Why would you do that? At the end of the day, this is a showman sport. We want to entertain the fans, man. I love that shit. I love the shit talk. I don't care if it's fake or not. I mean, don't be over the top fake, but I mean, if there's a half truth to it, like look at Conor McGregor, like look what he's done. Look how entertaining he is. Motherfucker's lost like 5 fights in a row, and everybody is gonna tune in to watch him fight because of his mouth. It's because he has that it factor, he has that WWE factor, and he has one punch knockout power in both hands. His wrestling defense is it's getting better. He's getting bigger. He's getting stronger. I think Bilal versus Usman is a great matchup for the company because if Bilal wins, that shows everybody in the world that he's deserving. And if Usman can't beat Bilal, then it's time to get off the train, man. I mean, it's time to hang up the gloves because that's an up and coming guy. I think he's great, but unfortunately, Bilal just doesn't have enough personality for me, and that's why I can't be a fan of him.
It's a really smart idea. I literally haven't heard anybody mention that. Maybe they have, but I haven't heard it. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to see what's next. All right, let's go back to UFC 286. I want to talk about the co-main event, which was Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. But dang, what a fight. And I thought it was really interesting too. I think the odds were pretty darn close. I don't even know. Fiziev might have even been favored. I can't remember, but what a crazy fight. Justin wins, pulls off the decision. I thought a pretty solid decision. I would have been upset if it went the other way. And because I love Justin Gaethje too as well. I can't wait to see him fight next. What do you think? First of all, what are your thoughts of the fight?
Incredible fight, man. It's seeing the pictures of Fiziev, after seeing him all bloodied up, seeing him in there. This guy is an animal. I just always hate to be on the other side, but I had Fiziev winning this one too, man.
Oh, really?
I really thought that it was a different Justin Gaethje in there, man. I thought his game plan, it just goes to the evolution of Justin Gaethje. Justin's one of my favorite fighters, so I'm very happy he won. He won me a little bit of coin. So don't get me wrong, I'm very happy when he won the decision. But I had Fiziev winning the first and the second round, and Justin putting it together in the third. I feel his pressure was a little lackluster than normal, but you find out later on, that was the game plan. He didn't want to get in these big brawls. Fiziev is so fast. That left body kick is insane.
Crazy. That was amazing.
I mean, but to Justin Gaethje, that jab he picked, that, and that's what I think broke him open, was just sticking with the jab, playing with his range, not getting overzealous, not rushing in, because I think Fiziev had the speed factor in this. And if they both go elbow to elbow and just start winging him, Justin, could get clipped. So I really feel he stuck to his game plan. He stayed back. But at the end of the day, I felt Fiziev pushed the pace on him. I feel that those body kicks, that switch left kick was just so nasty. And amazing. Again, I thought Fiziev won the first and the second, and Justin won the third. One of those fights, just like the main event. Like, I'm not mad with the decision. Obviously, I wanted Justin to win. I had coin on Justin to win. But when it went to decision, I was like, fuck, I lost. So that was great. But again, just the pressure, the speed, the output, the crisp. I mean, I think one of the big factors was all the blood. Fiziev was busted up. He was cut. And a lot of times that plays a factor, and it does play a factor in scoring. If a judge looks at that, Justin didn't have a mark on him, but he was rocked he got rocked in the third round. Like you saw him he ate one right on the chin, got rocked. I mean, Fiziev, it's not that he wasn't landing punches, he just wasn't breaking skin there. So, again, I'm fine with the decision. It could have went either way. I thought that Fiziev won, but I'm glad Justin Gaethje came back as my favorite lightweight. He's back in title contention, and yeah, that's what I feel about the fight.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, from being a Muay Thai guy myself, loving Muay Thai, I was just in awe of Fiziev. Just God, those kicks were incredible, and he was landing them, and Justin just took him. It was crazy. I thought, I mean, I have to go back and watch the fight. I mean, I was just sort of in awe in terms of the entire fight, and I'm kind of such a Gaethje fan. Perhaps it's hard for me to watch with an unbiased eye, but I felt like, from my recollection, maybe. Justin definitely won the third round. Fiziev just completely slowed down the third round and was gassing out and was having a really hard time. I thought second round, though, Gaethje won as well. I thought maybe first round was a little bit up in the air. But Justin, to me, even though, I mean, dude, those kicks, that speed, and everybody was talking about it, he just couldn't. It was crazy. The speed was insane. But when Justin was connecting, the shots he was connecting with were such clean, hard shots. And that's what I thought. I just thought he was doing more damage overall, even though it's hard to and also too, it was hard to tell because Justin didn't seem phased by the body kicks. Obviously, it was poker face, but I don't know. It was just such a crazy fight. And everybody was just, I think, in awe of what an incredible event that was. And I love that Justin was in control, especially more so in the first round. I think then eventually it got into a bit more of a brawl to some degree, which, I mean, obviously you can't avoid that. But yeah, I love that he was more measured and more controlled.
Yeah, that's one thing his coaches talk, or one thing he talked about in his post-fight, in the ring is, sticking him with that jab, keeping his range. Yeah. And again, although I thought Fiziev won the first and the second, I'm not upset just because, like, it could go either way. These are coin flip rounds to me. And so, like, I mean, I could be wrong too. I'd have to look at the stats if I want to be really particular. But at first glance, that's how I felt about it.
That's another thing I think in the fifth round, if I remember correctly, going back to the Usman Edwards fight, Edwards and the jab, he was sticking Usman with the jab constantly, almost unanswered. And I love that, jab. But what did they say in boxing? It's the most important punch. And hey, it's a pretty darn important punch in MMA too. So it's really fun to see how I love seeing an effective jab because it's not a power punch, but it's just so strategically so important. So I love it when you can see someone use it effectively. And then just going forward, we have Gaethje coming away with that amazing win. He's talking about wanting to fight Oliveira next. He kind of knows he can't go right for the title, I guess. I mean, I think it would be fine if he did. But he was calling for Oliveira next. He feels like that was a fight he gave away. What do you think about a rematch?
Hey, you know what? I love Justin Gaethje for doing that. I think it's so. I mean, a guy wins a big fight like that, especially against a tough up-and-comer. I want a title shot. He wants to avenge a loss against a former champion before he feels deserving. If he can't beat Oliveira, why would he think that he can beat Islam? So I think it's a gangster move because most people in that situation, I just beat this big-time up-and-coming. I want the title shot next. Justin Gaethje takes a step back, says, hey, I don't want the title shot. I want to show my worthiness. I want to get this loss back I had on Charles Oliveira. I feel I gave it away. And dude, hats off. That's why he's my favorite fighter, man. I mean, I can't think of another guy that I'll be honest, if I was in there and I just had this war with this up and coming guy that they say is going to be the next great thing, and I win a decision, I mean, I want to get a shot at the title, man. I feel like I'd be deserving of that. But again, that's why he's my favorite fighter. He's honest with himself. He's honest with the people. Give him Charles Oliveira. Give him a chance to redeem that loss. If he redeems that loss in notable fashion, he's next up in line for a title shot.
I think he wins. I think he beats Oliveira. What do you think?
Oliveira has nothing else to prove, and at the end of the day, I like Oliveira. I think he's a great fighter. At one point, I was thinking that until Islam put it on him, I was like, man, this guy, he keeps this streak going. He could be in the GOAT talk. But then Islam just comes in and wrecks him. At the end of the day, he has nothing more to prove. He has money. He has been a lightweight champion. He's beat some of the best fighters in the world during this era. Oh, and not even grinding out boring decisions. He's finishing guys in the first round. You know what I mean? Like, he has nothing else to prove. But if he gets in there and beats Justin Gaethje again, that's going to show his hunger of wanting to get his title back. But honestly, yeah, I think Justin's going to be a little bit more hungry because he has something to prove. He has to get that loss back, and he wants to get back into title contention. So it's a great matchup. We'll see what Charles Oliveira shows up if and when they fight.
Crazy, amazing. Okay, now I want to get to our final topic, which, obviously I don't want you to give away anything that is that is like, gonna affect Francis, but this is one of your teammates, Francis Ngannou, and I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a while because he was on the MMA Hour last Wednesday, I believe, talking to Ariel Helwani, and that's my favorite MMA show, by the way, if you guys don't know, and probably Justin, love that show. I'm tuning in later today. I love those interviews, and I love the questions Ariel asks. Sometimes he asks questions that but I love Ariel. I'm a huge fan, and really interesting. So he had a talk with Francis, and he got Francis to open up about what's going on, and it's really interesting about what's likely going to happen. Okay, and he mentioned two things that are next. And again, like, I'm not trying to get inside information. I just want to know your thoughts. Number one, he said the boxer that has been most actively talking to has been Deontay Wilder. And it sounds like he's simultaneously, which I think is really smart. He's simultaneously going to sign to a fight, let's say theoretically with Deontay Wilder, and also sign a deal before the outcome of the fight, which I think makes a lot of sense. He's not going to be favored to win, and that's no knock on Francis. If he fights Deontay Wilder, that's like, to me, that's insane. It's such a difficult fight. And then he's going to fight him. And then he said he's likely going to, what's the organization?
One championship.
No, it's not one. It was, he said
PFL.
He said PFL was the front runner, that he was probably going to possibly do it. He said he's talking to a bunch of organizations, but he said PFL seemed the likely outcome. So I thought that was pretty crazy. First of all, I want to talk about PFL, and I want to talk about Francis there, because to me, I'm more excited to see him back in MMA than boxing, because I'm an MMA fan. I'm not a boxing fan. I'll watch him box, obviously. And I'll I love watching any of the big fighters that I love. I'm going to watch them no matter what sport, bare knuckle, whatever. But I'm more excited to see him back in MMA. But first, let's talk about the Wilder fight and the Wilder matchup. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's a moneymaker, dude. It is what it is. I can give you the pros and cons of what I think of both sides. Like, Deontay Wilder is an incredible power punching boxer. He's his only losses are to Tyson Fury, who's more of a precision striker that is going to take him into deep water and gas him out. I think I don't think we're getting out of, or I don't think we're going to decision in this fight. I mean, Francis touches anything, anywhere on Deontay's face or head, he's going to die. He might spin his head around like the Exorcist. Now, in the same aspect, I look at it like this. Wilder's taken a lot more damage than Francis. I can't think of any time Francis was hurt. So is that going to play a factor? Like, is the mileage going to add up? I mean, Francis is essentially a new car. He lands one big shot. I mean, he could knock Wilder out. If Wilder knocks a shot or lands a big shot, can he knock Francis out? That's the biggest thing, is can he do it? Francis has low miles on his brain from getting hit. He doesn't take very much damage in his fight. I'm not saying he doesn't take any. We all take damage. But I don't. It's hard for me to have an opinion on this fight, man. I'm rooting for Francis. I want him to make as much money as he can, especially when he's advocating for fighter advocates and health insurance. Like, I want this guy to do it because, again, he's not selfish. He's trying to grow the sport and help all the fighters out. I think it's an interesting matchup. I can't wait to see what Eric Nixick has in store for Francis's training regimen.
I'm super excited just to see what's next for Francis too. And like I said, hey, I'm gonna watch whatever he does next, so that's gonna be exciting. And then I want to talk to you about this move next to the PFL. And let's say he goes that route. He goes to the PFL. I don't know, and I'll be honest, I don't know too much about the heavyweights in the PFL. I don't know too much about the fighters in the PFL. I'll be honest. UFC is kind of the thing that I watch by far the most. I'm a fan of Kayla Harrison, actually, but other than that, I don't know too much. Like, what do you think? Is there anybody in the PFL currently at heavyweight that might be, or who might be, do you think, the best matchup or toughest matchup for Francis there? And yeah, how do you think he'll fare?
Well, and that's the beautiful part about the PFL is, Ray Sefo, the president of the PFL, trains Extreme Couture. They have put together such a great program. It's not matchups anymore. You have an opportunity to fight whoever wins, and essentially it's a draw, or they do a seeding system. So you go through this season. I don't know. You don't even know who's going to be on the season, because right now, like, they have the PFL Challenger Series that April 7th, there's one April 2nd in Vegas, April 7th in Vegas. Hey, roll out April 7th or April 14th, Huzefa, and roll with me. We'll go to the PFL and we'll get front row. And like I said, I'll ask you, let's do it one of these days, or either the 7th or the 14th. And so this production is legit as hell. They've brought UFC champions over. Anthony Pettis, Jeremy Stevens, not a champ, but an incredible fighter.
I love
And
Jeremy
these guys
Stevens.
are getting me too. How could you not? And I love Anthony Pettis
And
too.
Pettis.
But these guys aren't even making it to the playoffs. Like, a former UFC champion, he was a 500 a minus 500 favorite against Clay Collard, and he loses a decision, and it was a good call too. It was a good decision loss. Like, it's tough for me to say who can give him anything. Like, you got Sai, I can't always pronounce his name. The welterweight champ. He goes against Rory McDonald and beats him. Rory doesn't even get to go to the playoffs. So I can't say a specific name that I think is going to, this guy can really give him a challenge here. I think all the guys the PFL are signing right now, and they're getting so many good fighters coming over because they're making good money. They run through a season. You fight 4 times. You get an X amount of points for knockouts, X amount of points for submissions, X amount of points for finishes and decisions. And then they bracket a playoff. So, we can't even say who he fight for his championship, because there's a slim possibility that there's a possibility he doesn't make it to the playoffs if he takes a bad loss early on.
Got it. Oh, that's really interesting. So it's not going to be coming over for just like a fight. He's going to be coming over and entered into the system, and then will be fed into the bracket just like everybody else. Got it.
Just like everybody else. And that's one thing I really appreciate. It gives guys like me, if I had the offer to jump into a PFL season, I might draw into Anthony Pettis the first round. And that gives me an opportunity to knock off this UFC champ. And if I beat him, he's not going to the play. It's not impossible, but it's unlikely. If you lose, you're not going to the playoffs. So it gives all these hungry young guys an opportunity to make $1 million against, bigger name guys. Do I think Francis is going to go, through the season and win? Of course I do. Do I think he's going to get to playoffs and win? Of course. I want to see him win that $1 million. But at the end of the day, he's going to fight like 3 or 4 times in like 4 months. And if he gets hurt in the first fight, how's he going to fare in the finals? Like, it might not be 4 months, but the PFL has made a season of fighting. It's just like football season. There's a start date, there's an end date, there's a championship game, like there's a Super Bowl in the PFL. And that's what I love about the PFL compared to the UFC, because again, you have to go through the regular season, you have to be uninjured. He might win and break his hand, and then he can't compete, and they're gonna have a fill-in for him. So that just a huge shout out to the PFL, huge shout out to Ray Sefo for all these signings. I think they are just doing an incredible thing, and I think in the next 5 years they're going to be able to compete with the UFC.
That's really interesting. See, I didn't know that. And is that tough for fighters to stay healthy for that season? How often does injury take them out?
I don't know a specific statistic to that, but I know during the regular season, you can't throw elbows or something like that. Like, you can't throw elbows to prevent cuts or something like that. And I might be off a little bit in my exact specs. So
but there's safeguards.
I'm paraphrasing most of my knowledge right now. So if I'm a little bit off, forgive me. But the PFL has brought MMA into a season, and they have a finals tournament. And I just think it's the best way to do MMA.
Wow, interesting. Okay, that makes it really cool. I didn't know that, and maybe that is exactly why Francis is favoring or leaning towards the PFL. I know he did mention. I think he did mention he's talking to one, and I think he's talking to Bellator as well. I'd have to imagine he is. So it's probably not a done deal yet, but that makes a lot of sense. That'd be really cool. Well, I can't wait to see what's next for him. He mentioned him and his team are talking to everybody and kind of making the deals happen and signing everything. So I'm sure he'll be coming out with an announcement soon, maybe in a few weeks, who knows. So that's going to be exciting, and we can't wait to see that. That's pretty much it for today that we had on the books. But like I said, it's a lot going on. We gotta fight. I think that's this weekend, right? Sanhagen versus Chito Vera. Let me double check. Sanhagen versus Vera is on. Yeah, Saturday, March 25th, starting at 4:00. So that's going to be. I can't wait for that fight. Holly Holmes on the card as well. So that should be pretty cool. And then, of course, we got some big stuff coming up with the Israel Adesanya rematch. So that's going to be amazing. But that's it for today. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below if there's anything in particular you want to see. And if not, we will see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Appreciate you.